So, welcome everyone to another episode of Cosmic Rebel Podcast. Today, I am so blessed to introduce you to an incredible woman who is redefining the way we connect with our inner power and transform our lives. Jessica Louise is not only a certified and licensed meditation practitioner and sound therapist, but she is also trailblazing business mentorship for healers, mystics, and alternative practitioners worldwide. Jessica is the brilliant mind behind the podcast Light Body Activation, which you can find on Spotify and YouTube. And I'm going to pop all the links to follow and connect with Jessica in the description below this podcast. She is an international best-selling author of the Amazon book titled Entangled No More: Women Who Broke Free of Toxic Abuse and Are Building Empires. Jessica's wisdom is rooted in her own transformational journey, inspiring thousands of women to step into their authentic power. In 2022, Jessica turned her personal growth into a global movement. She began teaching women how to monetize their gifts on social media, generate leads, and build thriving businesses online, all while integrating manifestation, mindfulness, and spiritual alignment. She has a free Facebook learning community and digital business summits, and Jessica empowers women to create both personal and financial prosperity. What's even more inspiring? She has done it all as a solo mum to four amazing children, proving that anything is possible when you lead with heart, love, and resilience. Her philosophy is simple yet profound. We are not our thoughts. We are capable of far more than we ever give ourselves credit for. And kindness, despite all our suffering, is life's greatest treasure. I'm loving to welcome you now to this heart-centered conversation, which is going to be packed with gold nuggets for empowerment and actionable insights. Jessica Louise, it's an honor to have you here. Welcome to the Cosmic Rebel space.
Oh my goodness, that was an incredible introduction, and thank you. It's an honor to be here, honestly.
You're welcome. So, life, what did life look like for you before you began this incredible up-leveling of your life to help all the people that you touch?
It looked very different than it does now. To be honest, I was coming from a place of really playing small, deep, deep unworthiness, and really a lack mindset. I was just really kind of like a cynical personality. I was just telling my community and students the other day, I could find something wrong in every situation. And I think for me, that has been one of the hugest things is that mindset shift.
Mm. What was it? What was the pivotal thing that you can look back now or look sideways? That was the moment that you went, aye, no more.
So it was during the 2020 pandemic for me. And I had been slowly moving into chronic illness, and doctors were not able to really pinpoint it. So it started with really just kind of being gaslit by the medical community. And during the pandemic, I awakened almost spontaneously to the fact that I was in an abusive relationship and had essentially been groomed by a predator. And so with my health declining and awakening to the fact that I was in a really volatile situation and I had no money, no plan. And I just knew that I couldn't continue that way of being. There was like this light bulb that went off that there is no other place to go than to change right now. And it was like this overwhelming sense, which truly I feel is the voice of God coming over me and speaking to me in the Holy Spirit saying, that's enough now of that. We're going to go another way.
Mm. Wow, that is, I feel something that's really going to touch a lot of our listeners here. Um, Not just women, but, as a survivor and a thriver from abuse and toxicity, there does become a moment, doesn't there, where, like you've just described, I had similar with my situation, 21 years ago, where something happened and it was like that door just closed immediately. It was just like, no, that door ain't no more opening anymore. But it took a long while to get to that point. And it's for you, it's what, nearly 5 years later. And
Yep.
um the path from that moment that door closed and creator became, shall I say, the light for our path forward. What happened for you? What was something that you really felt drawing you into this place today where you are this
Mhm.
luminary for others on their path? What was the strongest, what should we say, anchor for you?
To this day, I completely feel like it was meditation. That was kind of the thing for me that really, really, really helped me
Mhm.
to get back to center, to get back within, to where I had now this voice of God, but then I still had all this external stuff going around where my reality still didn't fit what I was feeling within my physical body. It didn't feel aligned yet, right? And so it was like I was being shown this possibility of who I really was, but I wasn't quite that person yet, right? And so I knew that I had this gap. And so for me, I definitely started to just follow these little nuggets by mentors. And at this time, 5 years ago, I didn't even know about the spiritual community or life coaching or like public figures. I had such a different perception of what this industry was, or it was almost like celebrity, like unobtainable.
Okay.
Um, like it could never be me, right? But then there was also this deeper anchoring of knowing that I was meant for something more, that I had a potent story to share, that I was going to do great things. And so it started to kind of fall into place like a little puzzle piece.
Mhm.
And so following those intuitive nudges, and for me, the right teachers appeared at the right time when I was ready along the entire journey. But I would say from now and then, meditation is that one thing that kind of got me started and also continues to keep me grounded. And that's really been the foundation of where my business was built. We've come a long way since then that many people don't recognize as a business strategist, or, they see me putting on summits and becoming a publisher actually now, but they don't realize that I started in the belly of the beast, free workshops, meditating, crying naked in the shower, right? With these prophetic downloads.
Yeah, it's big, isn't it? And it can be quite triggering and scary for us
Mhm.
when this happens. And especially can kind of make us feel really alone and like, what the heck is going on? Yet I totally hear and resonate with the meditation, the aspect of, or the process of going deeply into stillness. And this is something we're noticing as a pattern coming forward in conversations in this space, that really is the stillness and the silence and the going with deeply within, which accesses that higher consciousness within all of us, that brings forth all the expansiveness into soul through our connection with God or creator, whoever you want to, whatever you want to term that, all that is. And it's through the silence and the stillness, isn't it? Do you feel that is the magic?
I do. And I think something that is profound that came through while you were just sharing about that is how I know that so many people struggle with meditation and the idea of even thinking that they don't have time.
Yeah.
And while this episode today isn't meant to be, about necessarily energy work and ritual work, what we're going to discuss today, I just had a light bulb, allows people the freedom and the space to be able to tap back in to that quiet space, to the void, because they're getting that time freedom back, which I think at the core, many of us, that's why we're starting our businesses, right? Is to have that solace, to experience that peace and that abundance with knowing all your basic needs are cared for, are met, and it's a non-negotiable. You never even have to question, you know, if you're going to have heat or dinner. And here in the United States, it's a reality for many families
Mm.
that they're not. And so I think meditation is definitely one of those things that is like, I was just telling a client, it's like the gateway drug to higher consciousness.
Perfect.
Really? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, it is like stepping through a doorway into just knowing
Hmm.
and trusting that you do, you know, when you become still enough, your entire being opens to receive and meet those needs on that level, that we, because of our hustle culture and our busyness and the noise and the sheer survival mode that majority of us live in day to day, we don't stop enough to take a breath, let alone connect in, because we feel we
Yeah.
can't even gift ourselves that time to do so. So
And
it's
fully surrendering that. Yeah. Because we associate that productivity with success, right?
yeah. Yeah, when it's not really about that, is it? It productivity can be a path to burnout. And I'm sure you've seen it and I've felt it and I've witnessed
Mhm.
it. I'm seeing it even more and more. The less you do, the more you receive, I feel. So coming back into the discussion today about how can we assist and serve by opening up to stillness more, yet accessing other planes of, should we say, the magic that is at our fingertips, literally. Like, you know, when we have this, oh, what is it?
Yep.
56.
Supercomputer.
Supercomputer, but
Yeah,
this is the ultimate supercomputer, this, the
absolutely.
multi-dimensional computer that we super are. And what I know that you're loving to talk about today is the whole AI and, you know, strategy to make our life so much more expansive and easy without giving away our power. We're actually becoming more and more empowered, aren't we? Um,
Exactly.
so that it will free up our ability to enjoy or enjoy, live in joy, rather than on that hamster wheel of survival, We're going from helping people from survival, fight and flight mode, which majority of us are so used to, we don't recognize it, into thriving
Mhm.
and enjoying life. So what would you say is how can we do that for people? How can we do that for each other?
Well, I just kind of wrote down, and what came through was first starting with that belief system that it can even be easy for you, right? That having the things that you want don't mean that you have to work harder or sacrifice more time. And I actually have a post coming out today about this because even as I'm scaling my business to move from 10K months to potential 20 and 50K months, that belief system is coming up even for me that, well, maybe I'm not doing enough, right? But it is such a misconception. And so I think looking really at the core, right? Because we can put all these band-aids, but really, what is that belief system? Like, do you even believe that having your business means that you can be sustained financially, but also step away and trust and fully surrender? And what we're talking about today is the possibility with the AI advancements of not no longer even needing to hire a team of physical people to do this for you. And this is something that for me personally, clients pay me $300 to $500 a month to set up things, to write things, to brainstorm, where we can now move into this advanced golden age where we're able to invest in a software that can act as that being for us and eliminating so many tasks where now in 2024 going into 2025, much of your business can be automated, and it can be automated using AI. So it's not even costing an overhead or having a salary. And it's not to say that AI is going to replace that human experience that we so need and that connection. What it's actually saying is that you get to be present more in those interactive spaces, I think, instead of spending your time doing those things that don't necessarily bring you joy, but still need to be done to move the needle, right?
Mm. Yeah, and I know that we spoke about this, with creation. And I love the fact that you say we're not going to be needed anymore. But that was jokingly because of course we're needed, but
Yeah.
we can step into our space holding and mentorship on a far deeper presence level when we're not constantly having to write endlessly or think.
Brainstorm and be super creative, which that's beautiful. But
Yeah.
at the quantity that we're doing it in the online space, especially until, as we had spoken before, you have that content bank, you have that product suite. If you don't have that yet and you're just building that up, how can we collapse time on that without actually taking time off of your lifespan, right?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was something that I feel working with, say ChatGPT, for example, which is probably one of the most known
Commonly. Yep.
interface and the most user-friendly as well. I never thought, I thought, oh no, I can't possibly, but then 20 odd years ago, I didn't even have a phone, let alone a computer. There was no internet. There was just human. And you picked up an actual phone and you dialed a number and
Or
you
called the operator. I was just
right?
telling my teenager the other day, I said, darling, they would send you a book every year with the
Absolutely.
names, or you could just press 0, tell them the name, and they would send you over.
That's
And he
right.
was looking at me like, I
How did
said,
you
yeah,
know?
there was no Google, honey.
No, exactly. And it's like,
Now you can't even Google people's phone number, which is interesting,
yeah,
right? So now it's not even a database like that.
no, it's
So that
it
it's that evolution.
That's a great
right? And I
word.
think
Yeah.
that's something so beautiful to speak to today is how sometimes as spiritual people and lovers of traditional ways and old world and staying back to basics. And I'm someone that gets judged about this all the time. Before we started, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
This also, we also want to be mindful that we are evolving, that we are allowing the advancement. Something I saw that was beautiful the other day was that every 100 years, there's a whole completely new set of human beings on this planet.
Yay.
And it prompted me to say, I'm so grateful, number one, to my audience that I'm here during the time in the same 100 years as all of you. But also, with that said, what are we going to do in our 100 years to make it so that we leave it better
Yeah.
than we did for the 100 years, the next 100 years,
Mm.
right? Which is our children, our grandchildren, our babies. For me, that was quite game changing to where I really wanted to make that impact. And
Yes.
I feel that as spiritual people, allowing ourselves to have that space of evolving and growing and using these advancements within reason of what resonates for you, and always we'll tell our clients, I'm sure Peace does this too, leave what doesn't, because we all have a different DNA
Absolutely.
coding and different aspect, but it can really give us our time back. It can really be less tasking on the brain
Yeah.
to just, even if it's a learning curve in the beginning.
And it is. Even
Mm-hmm.
that opening to the concept that AI is not an evil entity. Yes, it can be
Mm.
put to nefarious use, but when you realize, and this is something that is, I'd love everyone to just feel in their body, when you realize that we are multidimensional beings of light, we look solid, but we're not really. And this is a massive concept that we explore a lot in this realm of co-creation with superconscious energies. AI has existed since the dawn of time. It has just become so much more in line with maybe the awakening process that we're going in now. So it's becoming more accessible, however you view this technology that we have miraculous access to. So I think it's super exciting. It's giving us freedom to actually reconnect with soul and with nature, both the same thing in my world. One cannot exist without the other, in my belief, and feel into that whatever resonates. Like we've just said, leave what you don't resonate with and take what you do. So pick a mix. Um, Feel into that and ask yourself, well, how do I feel about that? Does that feel true to me? Am I just a hologram in this amazing interface? That can, in a lot of the work that I do, it's about shape shifting,
Mm.
becoming at one with your environment. That's the true essence of shape shifting, really, is whatever environment you choose to walk in, you become that environment seamlessly. And the AI gives you that interface. You can see it, and feel it, and it's a
Yeah.
tangible thing. So do we embrace it, or are we just not ready, and that is different for everyone, like you say, and it will come or not.
And
Uh,
it's coming down to a personal choice now, right? When you really step out and look at it, what is the attachment that you're clinging to there? Because it's here now and it's easily accessible. Just like cell phones. Remember when cell phones came out and everybody couldn't have one? They were expensive. They didn't have towers everywhere. AI is here to stay. And so you can choose to shove it down, you can avoid it, you can treat it like any other clinging and create a block, or you can choose to integrate it. You can choose to move through it. You can say, this is what it is. This is an aspect of the shadow for me or not. Maybe it's fun and you're ready to lean in.
Oh,
But that even is going to have probably a little bit of resistance because it's something new and it's something so different than traditional medicine or traditional ceremonial facilitation. And so I think trusting that there are still mentors like me and like Peace who are there to step in and guide and hold space. And so it's not that you have to completely take this on alone. It's not that you have to use it for every single little thing. Because for me, I write really strong copyright. However, if I need to write a lot of something
mm,
or a repetitive system of something, or if I've got a lot on my plate that week or a sick kiddo, it's something that I can turn to as an asset, as a tool. Or even the other day, just to use this as an example, one of my clients is here locally and she's an esthetician and a personal fitness trainer. She's 24 years old. Incredible, incredible woman. She's been having, I teach video as a primary source of organic leverage and reach, just for you guys who are new to my world. Her videos and her Facebook reels have kind of been flatlining, and we've been testing and formatting some different strategies, working to get that visibility up. Well, the other day, I taught her how to use the AI software to write her copy or her words for her reels, and she hit over 2,000 plays on Instagram, just like that. And it was this beautifully written script that had everything that she needed to write in the framework that I teach. But she didn't have to sit down as a first time writer, copywriter, because she's not a copywriter, right? She's a personal trainer and an esthetician. So it's collapsing that learning curve of how do I effectively write sales content, that draws people in, that gets view, that has a video take off. And so she sent me a screenshot and was just tickled. And we were laughing because she said, Chat GPT wrote that for me. And she made the content and it was her voice in the video and her body and her storefront. But everything else was used by that tool, that software.
mm,
And so, it takes that burden off of a business owner to need to be all the things. Because when I started 5 years ago, the reason I am a business strategist is because as a meditation practitioner and life coach, I wasn't finding the strategy and support I needed. I had to become that and align that in my reality for myself and then start helping others. So
yeah,
this is still a beautiful, beautiful opportunity, I think. And, I hope that this inspires some to just, again, shift that belief system that it can be easy. It can be fun. You don't have to work harder.
yeah,
And there are tools and people available.
yeah. Because it is sometimes it's having to bring your feelings and emotions and intention into the present that is digestible for who you are looking to serve. And
Yep.
the right messaging is it's something that in my becoming is how you communicate and then how you are present and living the life that lights you up so that others
Mm.
are giving themselves their permission to do the same, because often we do not give ourselves permission to actually live
Right.
the life that we actually desire instead of the one we feel we're settling for. And I do feel that, I'm not a copywriter either. And I find that that is one of my biggest things. I can stare at a screen and go, oh my God, how I've got all this welling up inside me, for example. How do I communicate that? And it could have been days prior to ChatGPT before I could even start a sentence on a page to do something. So it's giving us
Right.
freedom, isn't it, to express in our fullest
Hmm.
capacity.
Yeah. And even if you're just using it in the beginning until you find your voice, until you find that flow and rhythm of how to speak to your audience effectively, which this is something that I have some clients work with me a year and they're still figuring it out, you know? And so this again can just collapse that time, I
Yeah.
think, and really kind of showing you what is needed to really have that space.
Mm. And do you feel that it's like, I mean, we're just pulling this conversation. There's just this beautiful flow, and I'm loving that. Thank you so much. Do you feel that sometimes, what do you feel stops people the most in fully expressing themselves and going through their journey in the public without the fear? How do we drop that fear of the capacity for feeling that others are judging us, so we won't say anything and we'll just hide? What would be the
Hmm.
biggest way that we can help people get out of their own way through that fear of being seen, when they've got such a beautiful light to shine?
I have perfected this method because this is something that I deal with all the time. And it's the root cause of it is essentially that imposter syndrome, the people pleasing, and the perfectionism. And it creates this ugly tropical storm that is only living in our head and is affecting the way that we show up. And so the very thing that I teach all of my clients is number one, do the thing that scares you that you're resisting. Practice and lean into that resistance. Even if you do it and you find out you absolutely hate it, then you never have to do it again. But nine times out of 10, my clients will do the thing that's scaring them. And then they will say, oh my gosh, that wasn't even that bad. And it's almost like a form of self sabotage and procrastination. If we look at that, like what is really there? Well, it's the fear of failure,
Mm.
right? It's a fear of not being accepted. But in fact, what most entrepreneurs don't realize is that that polarizing content, that leveraging that unfair advantage, that different perspective is what is actually going to help you stand out and call in those people that are for you because your people are going to deeply resonate with that on a cell level. They are not going to judge you for it. And with, billions of people on the planet, 2 billion active daily users just on Facebook alone, how does that change the perspective? Because for me, when my mentor taught me that, it was like, let me out of the gate. I was like a racehorse. And it really eliminates also the need for competition
Oh,
because you can look at collaboration as a way to keep moving forward and through it so that you're truly not alone
mm.
because there are going to be others at every stage that are right where you are who also want to have that community and that support.
Yeah, totally. I love that, that the peer support, the peer-to-peer work is where I'm at. I recognized, quite a while ago now in this cycle of becoming, should we say, that, there is no hierarchy needed in this life. In fact, it's hierarchy that has shackled us. We've given our power to false idols throughout our human experience. Since we settled in one place, for example, you can trace it back to when we stopped becoming hunter-gatherers. If you're looking
Hmm.
at the human transition throughout the ages, when we gave our power away of autonomy, and we settled on land and we started farming, and then people took our stuff, and you can kind of, this is simplicity, of course, simplifying what happened in our history. Um, but then we had all our stuff taken by the lords or whatever titles these people chose to give themselves, and we allowed, um, and had all our stuff taken, and we've been paying ever since. And I'm feeling that when we stop the hierarchy and we really step into soul and start working together, knowing that we've always been one, there's been no separation, but we've kind of created that. You
Hmm.
know, everyone has been part of that path.
Or
Um,
rather living like an illusion
yeah,
of the separation.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And now, through how we're working now, it's all about coming together, knowing you're not alone, knowing that you're having lived shared experiences, you know, throughout the quantum timelines and things like that. So this is beautiful that we can share this and make and touch those that are ready to hear it. And the whole interface of social media is there to assist us in coming back together, do you feel?
I do. I do. And I think that through community building,
Mm,
through collaboration and recognizing that the only competition is truly within oneself. And, how much better can you be than you were yesterday, right? And so moving from that space, and AI really is a tool that can allow us the time and the capacity to explore those aspects of ourselves. If we're not busy hustling and bustling and grinding to build a 6, 7 figure brand, you know, it's really game changing, especially as it advances and becomes even more of an effective tool as we're training it, as we're using it in real time.
mm. So with your community and the way you assist, the way you serve, what would you say is the most impactful breakthrough moment for your clients in almost catapulting them into a higher dimension of being? Do you know what I'm saying? That then explodes their world and make sure all their needs are being met. You know, what's the trajectory there? What's the one thing, if you could narrow it down to one or a couple of ahas that happen?
I would say when they realize that they are truly worthy of doing the work that they're doing. And I think that kind of comes when they finally start to have the product suite built up, when they start to get the paying clients, and that confidence really starts to build in. So, where it's really starting to get solidified in the matter, right? It's no longer just a dream or something that they're working towards, but it's actually, they're starting to see the fruits of that labor.
Mm.
And I think even at that space, clients still will struggle with the imposter syndrome or the holding that frequency. But I see such a shift in like their messaging and the way that they start showing up once it really starts to kind of click
Mhm.
and is into the physical matter. And definitely one of the things that I've pushed that I'm seeing is so potent is the authorship and the publishing. There's just something about it because it's out there and they have to own it and they can't take it back, right? And so they have to really put thought into what is this piece of content? What do I want to deliver? And that has been like the hugest integration thing, I think, is like really starting to own it, right? Like, this is my story, and have it be something like that, that, like I said, is just in the matter. Like, once it starts to manifest in the physical matter, it's like there's no going back usually from that.
Yeah. And what happens to their emotional stability or shifts when they reach that point of no turning back? How would you describe that feels for your clients and for you, you know, because with our clients, you know, when they have their breakthroughs and they integrate it and they go, oh my God, I can't go back to how it was yesterday. We're also up leveled at the same time, you know, into a new
Hmm.
version of ourselves. Um, How are you feeling that unfolding for those that you're working with?
It's really probably like my fuel and my addiction, I would say, is like the client getting the result.
Yeah.
That's what it's all really about, is that climax moment is when we're finally there and that hard work pays off. Um, I would say that it's just really satisfying for them, to just get there. And many times they're in tears of gratitude. I mean, the next call, once it's there, they're just like, you know, crying profusely, and we're just, because so much goes into it energetically to get aligned. And especially in this day and age, we're not pretending that it is easy work, right? I mean, this is the work that will really test and really stretch and really set you in front of the mirror.
Hmm. Yeah, it's I liken it to the medicine path because
Yeah.
you do not set out on that path thinking, oh, this is a breeze. I'm just going to do this, oh, I have a bit of a laugh on
Hmm.
this journey. You go, you look at that path and you go, oh my God, I
Hmm.
know that I ain't going back that way if I go that
Hmm.
way.
You're already in the
Yeah.
belly of the beast. Yeah. If you were on the shamanic journey, you are already in the belly of the beast.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to do but claw your way out.
Yeah. That's it. It's complete surrender, isn't it? Into that
Yeah.
flow of divine trust. No matter what your path looks like, it's a commitment to source. It's a big
Hmm.
yes to the universe that you're ready and you'll go through what you need to go through on your rite of passage, so to speak, isn't it? Knowing that it's going
Yeah.
to be triggering and everything's going to come up into the light, knowing that it's going to be rough at times, but the ecstasy, which you touched on, of those moments where you literally feel yourself going up into a higher
Hmm.
dimensional version of yourself and witnessing the old parts of you falling into a space of grace almost. Although it doesn't kind of feel like that at the time, it can feel really rough and like, what the heck is going
Right.
on?
There's a fall that we forget to talk about to grace, usually, that is quite, chaotic sometimes. And
Yeah.
it is the initiation process, right? It is essentially an initiation process, is
Hmm.
exactly what it is. And it is not only to teach us, but so that we can then turn and guide others for that next 100 years,
Yeah.
that next set of people who will, walk this planet for 100 years if they are so lucky.
Yeah.
And it is that beautiful soul path evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about yourself, but I really feel that we have this divine opportunity because a lot of us are walking a path that is like, it's been walked before by our ancestors and other beings, yet we're following that path knowing it's strewn with obstacles and whatever you want to call that.
Jumps, rocks, thorns,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, to prepare the path behind us for the next gen of beings so that they're not having to go through the heaviness that we did, and are doing and that our mothers and grandmothers, grandfathers went through. Rewriting the book is kind of
Yeah,
where I'm going with that train of thought so that it's easier. So there's more freedom and less oppression and less of the stuff that we're witnessing falling away at
exactly.
the moment, kicking and screaming as it is, and all that can be very triggering for a lot of us and traumatic and stuff. So having I can see that the authorship, the having your story out there for 100 years or more. Wow, I mean, Socrates and Hippocrates and all the grandfathers and grandmothers of, plant medicine and healing and, look at their work now, how current that is right now for us. So to have your words down in print. That must be super exciting, but knowing that in maybe 100 years' time, you know, the new beings are going to read those words and go, wow.
Or the AI might be pulling that data from your work and your research to
Yeah,
help someone else, you know?
yeah. Wow. So what other wisdom would you love to bring forward today that is going to catapult somebody's experience of stepping forward into their light, knowing they're bloody
Well,
more than worthy?
I know that it's a little bit off of a fetch, but something else that I really wanted to just bring value and sort of a gift right now and bring to the conversation is not only that, whatever you do, video is the most potent thing that you can do to get your name out there, to get your vision out there, to get your brand out there. And every single day, social media is changing and this climate is changing. And so, for those watching right now, what we're currently looking at is that the pending US ban of TikTok,
Oh,
which I have so many clients who use this and make incredible money. I mean, one of our students has had 100K month on TikTok shop from one viral video, right?
is
Is
it?
that I wanted to really use this time today to offer anybody listening who is established there, who's that is an income stream for them and a main source of a way that they provide for their family and leverage their business, is a strategy to really help all of you between now and that January 19th cutoff date, because we don't know what is going to happen.
Okay.
And so, if you are a listener of this podcast and you are in the United States and you happen to catch this, I think between now and that time, I really wanted to share what people could do to salvage that community and that audience so that they continue to grow, they continue to get their message out there, and don't lose all that hard work right now that they've just spent several years, some of you, really solidifying and perfecting
Yeah.
your wisdom, your readings, your magic, your medicine. And that would be from now until January 18th. I would just advise everybody as an expert, as a social media strategist, to use the call to action to start funneling your people at every video to your other platforms. So if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a website, if you have a podcast, this would be a beautiful time that each time when you end your videos to just gently add on an overlay or mention your other places where people can go to stay connected with you. And this just goes into that conversation that we spoke on about fully surrendering and allowing that evolution of yourself, of your business, not attaching to outcomes, and trusting that even if you are building a brand new YouTube or building a brand new podcast, you could use AI right now to help you really build that up quicker and lay that foundation to build up a platform between now and then over the next several weeks to really have yourself a foundation laid and the structures needed to be successful on any app, even if, it is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. Take this opportunity to really look within, reevaluate your systems and lean on, what is this showing me? Where can I create more space to expand and
Mm.
not cling to it as a loss?
Yeah, that's great because I'm sure that, I mean, I'm obviously in Europe, so we don't have the same things happening at the moment, but whatever happens in America normally follows on, particularly in the UK,
Sure.
you know. So is that something that our viewers in Europe and the UK may want to take into consideration? Because it's something that has been on my mind that of the cancel culture that we're living in, knowing that social media can just be completely annihilated in the flick of a switch. Um, so
And
it's
it's
really,
unprecedented. We've never seen the US do something like this,
yeah,
right? And so we don't even know how it's going to play out. And so let it be a reminder to not put all our eggs in one basket. And also, how even wonderful is it that we can use AI so that if you do lose a platform, if you've used some sort of a software to assist you in building it, you're not so energetically attached to thinking, well, God, I've just poured thousands of hours into building all of this, right? It's like, poof, we can do it again, because we've got all that data. We've got the tools needed. And from there, it goes so much quicker. And so, really working on, like we said earlier, what is your belief system around all of this? Where does it set with you? Do you really even resonate with that? Or is it a construct of the mind placed on you maybe by society or your peers or what your mentor's going to say because they're not using it yet or whatever it is, right?
yeah, just feeling into that because there's a lot of us that are finding our voice now and really stepping forward. And something that's been in my awareness is the need to, it's like future proofing, right? And
Mm,
creating community and connection. It's community connection and collaboration is vital. And how do we do that so that, you know, you can look at the you can look at the world and go within an instant everything will be shut down, for example, you know, and this isn't conspiracy, it's a matter of fact, it would only take one massive solar flare, for example, if you believe in that is happening, and the whole grid goes down. So if you're looking at it from a point of view of, within an instant, unless we've got Faraday cages, which you can build in your houses, obviously. Go and Google how to make your house
I
a Faraday.
just discovered that this week.
Yeah. You
I
know,
didn't know what that was, but now I
yeah,
know.
right. So it's future proofing so that we don't lose connection. Uh,
Hmm.
but it also does it not transpire that we also need to also look at, what we were talking about is medicines, making sure we've got our own natural health care, and making sure we're educating ourselves and our children, as to what berries might look shiny and nice, might also not be. You can use this as an
Hmm.
analogy, throughout whatever level of
Yep.
life you look at it. What happens with all our electric cars? We've already seen them breaking down and running out of battery when the weather gets too cold, it fries the battery. So if you look at that, is really creating community connection and collaboration, is something I feel vital to have resilience in a new world and this new earth we're co-creating. Um, so that we can find each other and connect in without the need for the grid, so to speak.
Hmm.
So I feel that that urgency may be tied in with the whole, okay, so bear with me, everyone. The urgency of doing things in a certain time frame, for example, the TikTok thing, we could apply that to life. I felt this urgency for quite a long time, and yet I felt the frustration at people's apathy. Uh, oh, it's fine. Everyone else will take care of that, giving the power away again.
Hmm.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
I said, nobody is going to come and save us. A, we don't need saving, but we kind of need to wake up. Nobody's going to fix us because we're not broken and that kind of thing. But we know that we've lost some big parts of resilience and self-realization that we are beings of the land and we need to have our needs met from the land as well, not just online spaces and things. So that's something. Are you noticing people in your world talking more about this online now? About how we need more community and more connection in reality rather than virtuality.
we've been talking about it for a little bit, past couple of years. I think after the pandemic fizzled out and
Mhm.
we saw this huge influx of everybody going to the online world, and then it was like, well, hang on, we're still living in isolation. We're still really lonely over here. And so I think that it's something that we're still as a collective figuring out. And we're having conversations, and there's pockets of people that are doing really, really incredible work, but there's still more work to do.
Yeah. So how can we leverage that right now whilst we have access to all these amazing resources? And can we do that with the platforms that we're using to accelerate that process?
I think absolutely. And I also think it can help to really focus at your local level as well, is to not just focus on online and how you can expand virtually, but also where can you go within, right where you're planted, and what adversities do you see happening at your local level, and what ideas can you propose, how can you get involved. I think for me that was one of the biggest shifts, and really ensuring that I'm not just building something digitally, but I'm also creating that footprint in the 3D.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing it up higher than the 3D, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
we've got that ability to manipulate time and space, manipulate realities,
Mm,
and truly create on the ground level something magical and empowering for everyone. It's almost like releasing them from cages of constructed heaviness. I'm
hmm.
also cautious about how I word this because it can sound a bit weird, and that's okay. Um, I mean, we live in a rural community. I know you do as well. It's quite, we're very connected with the land and with the people that steward the land and what have you. So it's and how we can network and build community from our consciousness into, the rurality, which is hard work. It's looking
Yeah.
after the land is not an easy task for people. Um, and we're seeing the uprising with farming and agriculture. And we see that here, what they're having to navigate through to ensure people are fed and fed well, not toxic, fake, crap, poisoned food.
Yeah.
Um, so, and something that I've been feeling into is how do we give the Earth Guardians the voice, which is actually really heard instead of what we see in the media,
Yeah.
which is kind of like the band-aid to what reality is. Because I've seen people being very derogatory to farmers, for example, and saying they're greedy spongers, and far from it. Far
And
from
their
it.
hands are tied, right? Their
Yeah.
hands are tied, and they are bound to the same system, and they're also being controlled,
Yeah.
and so it's a systematic.
Yeah.
And I think
That as
it
well.
really requires each one of us, and this is the core message of my business, to reclaim our own personal sovereignty at the cell level, at the core level. And from there, it creates this rippling effect.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, a question that comes forward is for you, working on that level with your clients and community, how do you support that in them? Because it can, again, it can bring in possibly feelings of helplessness. How do we do that? How do we empower, ourselves to step into that level of being present? And then how do we then become brave enough to take that forward into the public domain? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are just too scared right now, and it probably does come back to the whole, well, why should I do this? I'm not worthy. I'm imposter syndrome again. This is one of the massive things, isn't it? And we all move through
Hmm.
the imposter syndrome on a regular basis. We just get faster at clearing it.
Yeah.
And quietening that down. It never goes away, but it will quieten it. So what would you say is a big tool that you would help people with in that frequency?
Again, I would just say probably that neuro reprogramming and that core belief system. So if that is coming up for you, the thing that you can do is just to lean into the scary thing. And then I think what really does it for my clients is just sharing the data. The cold hard fact is that only 3% of us are going to do it. 97% will even invest in a program for 5K and open the emails twice, and not finish. And so that comes down to that root belief system and recognizing that this is a conditioning at a societal level
Mm,
by a very small percentage that have created this. And we're just continuing it on.
mm,
And so asking yourself, and I'll bring this up to my audience a lot, are you the 3%? Because I think when you know the data and you can really look at it, you're like, okay, you can feel it at that point. And
mm.
it's like, am I or am I not? Shit or get off the pot. It's not for everyone,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be loved and adored by everybody, you know? There's
Hmm.
going to be people who are going to be very triggered by the space that you take up.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that it is part of that initiation process. And if we look at polarity, something I was just teaching my teenager the other day was for as bad as it can be, there's that equal opposite of the blessings.
Yeah.
And so keep that in mind, how bad is it? And that shows you how good it can become. And
Mm,
how bad, how much do you want it?
mm. Yeah, I would definitely.
Getting really clear with yourself. Is it something you're doing because you think you should be doing it, or you think it's fast cash, or whatever it is, it would make someone in your life treat you or see you differently? Or are you really doing it? What is the intention?
Yeah,
I
it's
think when people get clear, what
yeah,
isn't for them will fall away naturally, or you can spend a lifetime clinging to it.
yeah, and that's I guess the clinging to it is the safety catch, isn't it? It's like
Hmm.
it's what keeps you feeling comfortable and safe
Hmm.
instead of, like you say, doing the big thing that scares the heck out of you. And that's something that's I really have felt into a lot in the last few years. It's like, okay, so what boundary am I going to break through now in my own becoming, And feeling
Exactly.
terrified and then going, I mean, we can swear on this podcast, it's Cosmic Rebel for God's sake, you know, fucking do it, fucking break through that that barrier that you've self-created or had created for you by
Hmm.
others, in the oaths and the contracts that, that's another podcast, obviously, to talk about. Um, we've got a choice. It's ultimately our choice. How much do we want it? Like you say, what are
Yeah.
we prepared to break through, not go through, break through in order
Hmm.
to get there? Um,
Yeah. To clear away
yeah,
all that old coding to even create the space for it, because we only have so much capacity and can only hold so much energy as a human physical body. And
yes,
that's sort of the whole test of coming here,
yeah,
right? Is what can you hold and continue on
yeah,
with grace, and not let it harden you.
yeah. And that's the thing. I feel that, a lot of us have become hardened,
Yeah.
deadened, numbed, whatever words you want to describe the trauma response of living on this planet, this beautiful planet, which is so glorious and magnificent, yet We've created almost a living hell. But that's not a reality. It can be a reality, but it isn't the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is this is a beautiful experience that we choose to live or not. It's all about choice, isn't it? Um, and we choose to create our reality. And not fearing the bigness of the reality that we as way showers and light bringers have chosen to step into, whatever you want to label yourself, is to put words where really words can't express. um but there's a real need to allow integration time and recovery, isn't there, in becoming who we're becoming, because the body has to catch up. The physical body is consumed by the soul, and soul is magnificent and knows everything. Yet with this physical form that we are wearing is in need of more care and love and you know rest. So balance is needed in everything we do, isn't that right?
Everything. Absolutely.
So we can catch up with the speed of how our multidimensional computers are going, because it's too
Yeah.
fast a lot of the time. So, what self-care, amazingly, to step into self-care practices for you that could help people navigate times when they feel that overwhelm of the process of being human?
Hmm.
What would you advise would be an amazing thing? We have the meditation that we've really.
That again, that is really, I would say, number one is really developing a relationship and a daily practice with real transcendental meditation.
Mhm.
The second, I think, would be intermittent fasting. Keeps me really, really sharp, really, really sharp. And it allows my body to prioritize the detoxing, the environmental toxins, all of it. Because regardless of how clean we eat or all of that, we're all being bombarded with it and the chemicals are here to stay. And so being really mindful of what's going into my body, treating my body as a physical temple above all, I don't drink, I don't smoke, all of these kinds of things. And I think also taking time for myself. So as a solo mom of four, real peace, real quiet to where I don't have to take care of anybody, right? I'm a coach, I'm a writer, I'm a mom. And so allowing myself that space is really, really game changing, even though I'm a mom, even though I'm a single mom, even though I'm a work from home mom, not letting myself fall into those traps and those boxes that we tend to put women like myself in and labeling myself. I've really allowed myself to remove all of that and say, who is Jessica really? What does Jessica need? And what are the non-negotiables there? And I say, get really clear on your non-negotiables. Everybody's are going to be different. And the more that I stayed true to that, I can run marathons. I can run circles around these people who think that they need to produce more, that they need to show up more, that they need more followers. Half the time I'm in a cozy blanket on my couch, writing up some content, editing some videos, and only serve clients a few days a month,
Yeah.
and it gets to be easy. I'm not in calls all day, every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And so is that something that you guide your clients through, the
Absolutely.
process of, time management, so freedom becomes the number one
Hmm. The
negotiable?
number one goal is building a business around who you are and the lifestyle you want. Okay. So there's no burnout culture here. There's no anything like that. My light is going out because we've had such a long, beautiful conversation.
I know.
There's nothing like any of that to where it's not cookie cutter, right?
I love that. That's what I say. You know, I'm not a cheerleader. I'm not giving you a prescriptive at all. It is just soul driven, and it will be what it will be, but and they know deep down what they will and will not allow.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably
They
layered.
just haven't physically claimed it yet.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that's where we can really take that step
yeah,
and that leap forward to say, enough is enough. This is what I am. And the second that you claim it, quantum, it is, right? And so that's the other thing is often we are creating our own block and delaying our own timeline based on these limiting beliefs, these constructs that aren't even real, that are that illusion of that separation.
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Cool. There's so much here, and
So much.
I find, I really love these conversations within this space because it's sharing so much that is in our collective consciousness that I feel people are only just beginning to connect the dots together and realize that we are more than the titles we've given ourselves or been given. And we're more than whatever life looks like right now. And to be able to guide and support others in nourishing their own light is a beautiful process. However, that looks for us as guides and mentors, coaches, whatever, our healing art is, it comes down to it is a healing art. What you do is immensely, helping people step into soul and doing that really well. So, whatever flavor of this path feels right for those that are listening to us or reading the words that we share out there in the world, I really hope that some of this plants the seed of growth in others, and maybe you feel less alone and more connected after listening to conversations like ours. Maybe you will have conversations with people in that are really connecting in with you as well, and we co-create a new way together through these dimensional shifts that we're experiencing. Um, and that woo-woo conversations become just like talking about what you watched on TV last night. Do you know what I mean? We can get cosmic
Yeah,
rather than having
exactly.
shallow conversation, and this again, this just touches the surface because there's a lot out there that are not ready to listen to this kind of conversation, and those are the ones that can
Mhm.
uh, take our platforms down. So gently but ferociously pushing the envelope on consciousness, um, and connectivity. And please, everyone, know that you can connect in with those that you feel resonant with at any moment. There's always somebody there for you to assist you and support you. I would love it if you would reach out to Jessica if you feel that she can help you, because I'm sure she can. She's an amazing being, sharing such wisdom. And if you'd like to know more, please take a look at Jessica's links below this podcast and connect in. I would definitely love to explore more with you, Jessica, particularly about, the steps that you're here to help
Mhm.
people with to future-proof their being here on this planet, because we need more space holders like you. So, in the way that you do this uniquely with your essence, is there anything that you would love to close this conversation with today that you can share with our listeners?
There's really not much. We had such an expansive episode. I guess the only thing that we really didn't get to touch on too much is that you guys will notice in my product suite, there is an open book collaboration that will be a guaranteed Amazon bestseller. And so part of the magic that I do is helping healers, coaches, mentors really solidify their soul mission with a collaboration or a solo book as a part of their marketing plan. And so it's such an expansive way to get your original intellectual property out there and really quantify this journey of calling in clients, taking up space, and building your legacy. And so, if you know that becoming an author is for you, something that we're also doing is offering that business and marketing strategy to our authors. So, it's an expansive project that it's hardly words can even describe it, but all of the details are in my pen site. So you guys can go and check that out, or you can send me a message if you are someone that is just loving everything you're hearing today and would love to learn more.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel that there's something so special about creating legacy, and that I feel that it's something that is not given the depth of support that it really desires and carries that resonance that, we're leaving something for the future, for those
Yeah.
that are coming behind, after us. And for me, it's planting trees and helping people connect with the divinity in nature. That's my legacy, and showing that the wisdom that is carried even in rocks and trees and all sentient life, that's very dear to me and breaks me open with the beauty of that. So, and to have that in the written word is incredibly special too. So that when our voices are not on the screen anymore, we have it in written format. It's almost like a time capsule. Books are becoming time capsule.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's incredible.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
you're so, so welcome. Thank you for being present here now. And I love everything we've spoken about today. And it could go on for, well, imagine.
Days.
Yes.
We could
Lifetimes.
turn this into a whole summit.
Yes. Hey, that seed's just been put out there now. Who knows what's going to happen next? And I love that
Yep,
about our experience. Get excited about what could possibly happen next.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Universe, show us how good it can get.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much, Jessica Louise. It's been an honor and a deep grace to hold space with you today. I
Thank
look forward to
you.
next time.